This is the Kevin Trudeau Show.
I am exposing the corruption in government and in major multinational corporations. We're telling you the things that they don't want you to know that will make your life better.
Welcome to the Kevin Trudeau Show. I'm Kevin Trudeau, and you're not. I don't know why I like that. You know, that I think that was an old Chevy Chase line from Saturday Night Live. I don't know. Anyway, it's great to have you here. We broadcast 2 days a week currently, maybe more in the future. Monday and Wednesday at 1 o'clock. So make sure you tune in Mondays and Wednesdays at 1 o'clock for the show, everything they don't want you to know about to improve the quality of your life. And I am the super genius, as you can see. I promised I would share today something that I don't think you've heard before. It's about how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires and what's really holding you back. What's preventing you? On this show, I have recommended a lot of books on our recommended book list. As a matter of fact, if we can put that chart up, okay, great. So here are the books that I've recommended, and these are the classic books that super wealthy people from around the world claim that they have read, such as Think and Grow Rich, The Magic of Believing, etc. See You at the Top by Zig Ziglar, How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. These are classic success books that teach about how to use the mind to manifest goals, dreams, and desires. The Law of Attraction was popularized in one of the books I recommended, The Secret, which also was a video, and highly recommended. And I recommend you read these books. A lot of you and a lot of people around the world have read and studied the techniques to become successful, the techniques to manifest money in their life, the techniques to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, how to create your reality with your mind. They've studied these books. They've gone to seminars by the gurus who teach you how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires. There's a slew of new books with new success gurus out there. There are guys teaching stuff on YouTube all over the place, and you can punch in how to manifest, and there's a zillion, quote, experts who it cracks me up, you know, that they claim to be experts on how to manifest goals, dreams, and desires. And a lot of these people call me and say, Kevin, I'm trying to sell my book on how to manifest, and it won't sell. Can you help me with the marketing? I go, well, if you know how to manifest, what are you calling me for? Just manifest a New York Times bestseller. I manifested 6 #1 New York Times bestsellers. I manifested 100 million books. I manifested companies that did over $25 billion in sales worldwide in today's dollars. I've manifested mansions and Rolls Royces and Ferraris, and I've manifested having dinner with kings in palaces and presidents and prime ministers. I've manifested a lot of stuff. If you are an expert on manifesting and you're writing a book, or if you're teaching a seminar, then manifest something. Stop calling me and help me. The reason why I say this is I authored a course, as you know, called Your Wish is Your Command, How to Manifest Your Desires. I authored that course after I generated $25 billion in business, after I proved that the stuff that I'm going to teach actually works. All these other guys are in the self-improvement business. They haven't manifested any money in their life. One guy was flat broke, living in the basement of his mother-in-law's house, bankrupt, writing a book on how to manifest, and he sold it, and that's how he made his money. He was broke when he was teaching others how to manifest. It's sound good material, and a lot of it is decent material. Yes. But it's not the truth, because they are talking about a subject that they know about, but not a subject that they know from personal experience. If they knew so much about manifesting, how come they didn't manifest something first before they started teaching or selling courses on manifesting? In Your Wish is Your Command, The first concept is, who do you listen to? You listen to somebody who has what you want and has been where you are. And you listen to them and you follow them and you mimic and model their behavior and thinking and actions because they have a proven success system, a proven pattern for success, a formula, a recipe that works. And you can mimic and model. And that has been the method for thousands of years that people have utilized to learn how to succeed. They found somebody that was successful. They attached themselves to them. They learned, they observed, they picked up their energy, and that's what they did. They duplicated success. But there's a little trick here. If you find somebody who's very successful, don't duplicate what they're doing or thinking. Don't duplicate how they think, how they talk, how they act. Don't duplicate their actions. You duplicate how they thought, how they spoke, how they acted when they were broke like you are. In other words, you have to say, what were you doing when you first started? That's what you duplicate. It'll change over time. The way I have my daily schedule today, my actions today are dramatically different than it was back in 1975 when I was just starting off in my first business career. In the late 70s and 80s, that's what you want to duplicate. And not just me, but other people when they were first starting off. When they were first starting off in business, in the beginning of their success, how did they think? How did they act? What was their daily schedule? Yeah. Did we work 14, 15, 16 hours a day, 7 days a week? Yes. Do I do that today? No. I kind of do, but not as much. Do you understand that? You see, a plane has to give it full throttle as it's going down the runway. It has to be full on, full throttle for a long period of time to build up enough momentum until it takes off. And when it takes off, as it begins to take off, the air gets lighter and it's easy and easier and easier. It goes faster and faster and faster. And once it gets to cruising altitude, then it pulls back the throttle and now you're in cruise. If you're watching a successful person, somebody who's very successful, they're on cruise control. That's different than when they first started and first taking off. So you have to duplicate that type of success. So today I'm going to talk about something that I don't think have heard from any of the other success gurus because I don't think they know about it. And look, I know most of these guys. Bob Proctor, the late Bob Proctor, used to work for Nightingale Coney Corporation. He worked for the largest producer of audio cassettes for personal development. They sold Dennis Waitley courses, they sold Brian Tracy courses, they sold Zig Ziglar courses, they sold Earl Nightingale courses. Spectacular courses on success and how to become successful and how to make money and how to get your attitude right, how to set goals, how to achieve goals. And Bob Proctor would read and listen to all this material and he says, you know something? I am now an expert on personal development. I'm going to go out there and start my own company and make $1 million. He had never been a successful person. He worked as an employee and he learned the material and then he became a very good communicator of that material, but he was basically just parroting that material. And I'm not saying anything bad about Bob. I love Bob Proctor. And I think many of the material he has is excellent. Just like Jim Rohn was an excellent communicator and Tony Robbins is an excellent communicator of the material. The material that they're communicating is stuff that they learned from others and learned in books, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there is a vast difference just parroting what you've read or what you learned in a course versus when you applied that material and then you have personal experience in real life. Ed Foreman, one of my closest friends, one of the greatest motivational speakers of all time, started a company called Executive Development Systems of Dallas, where he taught people success principles. But he didn't start teaching the success principles until he had made $200 million. He had, through personal experience, he read books too, but he was in the concrete business. He was in the construction business. He was in the oil and gas business in West Texas. He was in real companies and real businesses in real life making millions of dollars. applying the techniques. And as he applied the techniques, he would think, oh, wait a minute. You actually apply it this way, not that way, because this little distinction creates the results. And only later, when he had made hundreds of millions of dollars, did he say, I, from personal experience, now can share my personal experience of how the techniques work in real life and how I've seen them work for others, and now I can share that with you. And therefore, when you hear Ed Foreman speak, it's wildly different than another motivational speaker because you can sense the depth of knowledge in the data. Does this make sense? And this is why the Success Mastery course that I authored, which starts with Your Wish is Your Command, is so distinctly powerful because it doesn't come from just regurgitating stuff that's in the books that I recommend, which are all good. It's through the years, through my training in the Brotherhood, through the success training that I received, through the brain training on how to manifest that I received back in the late 60s and early 70s, and then applying it and then making millions, and applying it and making tens of millions, and applying it and making billions, and then helping others and watch them apply it in real life, my friends and colleagues, make millions. That's when I knew. I didn't know about the material, I knew the material, and that's when I authored the Success Mastery course, the Science of Personal Mastery course, and that's why I founded the Global Information Network, which allows people now access to the information that's not just sound good information, but it's workable, proven through decades of experience of not just myself, but many others. That's what makes it dramatically different. So the question then, and the reason why I'm here today on this show, and I promised you I would do this, is why are so many people failing? Why are so many people not succeeding? Why are so many people not manifesting their goals, dreams, and desires when they're watching all these videos on YouTube on how to manifest? And they're going to all these seminars and paying tens of thousands, and in some cases $50,000 or $100,000. I've had people call me and say, Kevin, over the last 10 years, I've invested over $250,000 on courses from Bob Proctor and Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza and Joe Vitale and all these different people that teach manifesting techniques. And I'm broker now than ever before. As a matter of fact, I just have to file personal bankruptcy. I think I'm applying the material that I've learned, but for some reason it's not working. Why doesn't it work? The studies are really clear. The book Think and Grow Rich. Bruce Lee used it. Many celebrities and wealthy people say, I read Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I learned the success system that never fails. I learned that you have to define your dream and have a burning desire for its achievement. And I applied it, and it worked, and I made all this money. But that's like 0.5% of the people that have actually read the book. In survey, when you take people that have read that book and say, have you read that book? Yes. Okay, let's take 1,000 people. They've read it. How many times have you read it? Let's take 1,000 people that have said they've read it at least 5 times. And let's take 1,000 people that said not only have they read the book, Think and Grow Rich, 5 times, but they claim that they are absolutely 100% applying the material as stated in the book. They show me their written out statement, like the one Bruce Lee wrote, which I talked about in the previous episode, and they show everything that they've done. They've read books like Ask and It Is Given, an excellent book. It's on my recommended list. They've read books like Think and Grow Rich or other Napoleon Hill books, The Law of Success, The Science of Getting Rich by Wattles, one of the first books which talked about the law of attraction. Charles Haniel's book, The Master Key to Riches. There's a lot of old books in the 20s and 30s and 40s that talked about this. And we take 1,000 people that say they've read this material. They've gone to every Tony Robbins seminar. They've gone to every seminar by this guru and that guru and this expert and this expert and this expert. And they say, nothing has worked, Kevin. Kevin, nothing has worked. And many of you probably felt the same way. You're thinking, Kevin, I think I'm applying the law of attraction, but it's not working. I don't have the relationship that I want. I don't have the health that I want. I don't have the money and the finances that I want. I'm trying to attract success and it's not working. Why doesn't it work? Well, I'm here to tell you why it doesn't work and why it's never going to work for you unless you correct a couple simple things. Number one, in your brain, there are two primary glands that we're going to talk about today, which will make the difference between whether you succeed or fail, whether the law of attraction works or doesn't work. The first one is called the hippocampus, and we'll show a picture of the hippocampus in the brain on the screen here. And the next one is called the pineal gland. Some people call it the pineal gland. For my way of pronouncing it, I'm going to use pineal, P-I-N-E-A-L, pineal gland. And maybe that's the wrong way, the official way to pronounce it. I don't know. I've been to scientific centers and I've had 2 PhDs say it differently. So I'm going to use pineal gland. So these are the two glands. So let's take the difference between somebody who's very rich and somebody who's average. And when I say very rich, in today's world, in the old days it used to be, he's a millionaire. Well, a millionaire back in the day when it was said to be a millionaire, he's a millionaire, it was worth at least $100 million today. So if a guy had a net worth of $100 million back in the day and he was a millionaire, he actually had cash of $100 million. That was a successful person. He's a millionaire. So we're going to put category A. Let's look at people who have at least $100 million in cash. Not in like real estate assets where they make 100 or 200 grand a year income. Oh, I'm worth, 100 million. Look at all my real estate assets. Yeah, but if you sell them, it's not going to, and it's cash. So let's look at the brains of people that have at least 100 million. And let's look at the brains of the person that makes, let's say, $200,000 a year or less. That's the average person. Some of you are thinking, wow, if I made 200, I'd be rich. Okay, but let's just look at all those people, 200,000 or less. Let's look at 100,000 or less. It doesn't matter. It's the same brain, quite frankly. Now let's look at both of those brains, and now let's look first at the size of the hippocampus. I got news for you. I mean, the researchers have proven this to be true. This is what they don't want you to know about. The size of the hippocampus in the wealthy people is much larger, 30, 40, 50, sometimes even 100% larger than the size of the hippocampus in the average person's brain. So if you're watching right now and you are not manifesting goals, dreams, and desires, one of the reasons is the hippocampus in your brain is too small. Don't worry, you can make it bigger. But you can also make it smaller based on what you do or don't do. Why is it important and significant to have a big hippocampus? Because when I wrote the course, and I taught the course, Your Wish is Your Command, I said something that was like so crazy. I said the brain is a transmitter and receiver of frequency. And the reason I said that is because it's true. The scientific research proves it to be true. But before scientific research proved it to be true, spiritual masters for thousands of years said that. Einstein said it. Thomas Edison said it. Even though they didn't have the equipment, they instinctively knew that the brain was producing frequencies. Now we have all the research that says, oh yeah, the brain produces frequencies. It's actually a broadcaster and receiver of frequency. Well, there's two parts of the brain that broadcast and receive the frequency, primarily. The hippocampus and the pineal gland. So, the law of attraction says if you put out a vibration, it's going to come back to you. Well, that's great. But let's say that you have a transmitter that has like 10 watts and you turn it on and broadcast a transmission. It goes out 20 feet and then that's it. You need a powerful transmitter, which means you need a big, powerful, active hippocampus. And if you don't have it, that means no matter what you do in terms of I'm sending out a positive desire into the universe, you're not broadcasting a strong frequency. It's weak, therefore you're not going to attract much. But if the hippocampus is bigger, then you can broadcast that frequency. It's 100 times, 1,000 times, 10,000 times, 100,000 times more powerful. And now, because you've broadcasted a powerful frequency of what you desire, the universe gives it to you because they can hear it. That's number one. Number two, let's look at the pineal gland of these two groups. The pineal gland in the group of wealthy people is active. The pineal gland of the average person is calcified, which means it's not very active at all. It's not broadcasting. Big problem. Big O. Problemo. Es ist ein Problem. It is a problem if your pineal gland is calcified. I'm going to talk about why it got calcified in a minute. And then you may get really mad. If your pineal gland is calcified, you can't broadcast. The pineal gland is a little different than the hippocampus. Hippocampus broadcasts a frequency in this plane, in this world, in this physical dimension. So if you want to manifest money, broadcasting from the hippocampus will broadcast the frequency here in the physical dimension. The pineal gland also broadcasts in the physical dimension, but it broadcasts also on all 33 dimensions and connects through the veil to the oneness. This gives you bliss, peace, happiness, joy, insight. It gives you intuition. It connects you with a sense of oneness so that you can then go into the spiritual realms or do some supernatural things like read minds or be able to see energy, connect with people at a different level of understanding, compress time. Oh boy, I'm talking about all these spooky things. Is this real? Yeah, it is. From personal experience. I'm not talking about stuff I know about. I'm talking about stuff that I know. So let's talk about the brainwave frequencies that come out of these two glands. There's a little chart we're going to put up. They're basically 5 brainwave frequencies. So you can look at this chart and you can see at the top, the highest frequency that resonates or moves the quickest is called gamma. Those are gamma waves. Then beneath gamma, we have what's called beta waves. Beneath beta, we have what's called alpha waves. Beneath alpha, we have what's called theta waves, and beneath theta, we have delta. And just to give you a quick little rundown here, delta at the bottom, that's when you sleep. When you sleep, at certain periods of the time when you're in deep sleep, the brain waves will slow down to delta, and that's when you're dreaming, your essence is almost leaving your body, and it allows the body to heal and rejuvenate. Human growth hormone is released when you're in delta, stimulating the body, healing the body. The mind completely relaxes. All the muscles, tendons, ligaments, organs relax, heal, rejuvenate. You're connecting with the universe in delta, and the body is in the healing state, which is why rest and healing have always gone together. Sleep heals. Rest heals. When your body is at rest, and what it really means is when your brain is operating in delta, it has the ability to heal. If your brain is not in delta, you're going to have a very hard time healing, and you're going to age very, very quickly. So the average person, you don't get very much delta waves at night. If you go to sleep for 8 hours, it might be only an hour where your brain is in delta. People that heal and have great longevity, it's 3-4 hours a night that their brain is in delta. So their body rejuvenates quicker. They're producing more human growth hormone, and they have more vigorous, vibrant health. They'll live longer, and they'll not only add years to their life, but they'll add life to their years. It's powerful. I'm going to tell you how to do this in a second. The theta band, this is, we call it the wealth or prosperity wave, because theta is the energy of the physical universe. When you broadcast a desire on a theta wave, it hits every molecule in the universe, and it is the most powerful wave which will attract wealth into your life. So theta is the key to wealth. Above theta is alpha. Alpha is when your left and right brain hemisphere are beautifully connected. It is a nice state of relaxation, and it is the ideal state to be in when you're learning new information. Because this way, when you're learning data, it's going into both left and right brain hemisphere. Your we'll call it the subconscious and analytical mind, or conscious mind and subconscious mind are all working together, and it's a beautiful state. When you're broadcasting on alpha, it's almost as good as theta into the physical universe, but not quite as powerful. But alpha is a beautiful state to be in. It is the learning state, we'll call it. It is also the relaxation state, because it's a state that if you're in, your body is in homeostasis or balance. So it's a great state to be in a lot of the time. Now we have beta. Beta is analytical mind on steroids. When you are in beta, your analytical mind is active. When your analytical mind is active, that means the ego is in charge. You're analyzing. Analysis always leads to paralysis. You're thinking. You're worrying. You're thinking about what you don't want to happen. You're under stress. Beta is called the poverty or slave frequency. And I'll tell you the news. If we were to put a brainwave machine on your head and followed you around for a week, let's say, and I've done this, so I know, and I've seen the research with others, we've done it before in the centers that I've worked with at the Brotherhood. If I were to take you and just put this on and say, yeah, let's just run the tape, keep it on for a week. Sorry, you can't take it off when you shower, but bathe. And a week later, we take the helmet off and all the probes off, and we look at the data, and we say, when you're awake, 90% of the time, you're producing beta waves. That's the slave wave. That's the poverty wave. That's the no manifestation wave. That's the stress wave. That's producing the stress hormones in the body, making you gain weight. It also makes you age faster, stress out, struggle. It also creates conflict in relationships, because it's kind of like a wave that goes out, and when somebody is in your space, subconsciously, it's like you're taking your fingernails and scratching it across a blackboard. So it creates conflict, it creates arguments, it creates negative emotions, it creates stress. Cortisol, which is the stress hormone, gets released and produced, and you start putting on belly fat, you get wrinkles, some people's hair fall out, you can't sleep really well, You get erectile dysfunction, all the issues with stress. You get cancer. Then, above the beta, you have gamma. Gamma is supraconsciousness. It is, we'll call it the genius wave, because it goes above the analytical mind. The analytical mind is operating at peak performance here, but you're also, at the same time, because the frequency is so high, you're connected to the universe. So when you're in theta, your analytical mind isn't really active. Your intuition is, you're connected to the universe. But when you're in gamma, it's a kind of a combination of both. And this is the state of complete homeostasis and bliss. When you look at Tibetan monks or people that have meditated for decades, spiritual gurus who have the title guru, and they wear the Indian robes and they look like a guru. And you put the brainwave helmets on, they operate, if you look at a week, most of the time in gamma during the day. They're in that state of constant bliss, which is why when they asked the monks one time, oh, by the way, when you have an orgasm, you go into gamma. And so when you have a sexual orgasm, for that moment, you're producing gamma waves. Which is why in Harvard, there was some Tibetan monks being interviewed, and somebody says, how is it that you can be a monk and not have sex? It's a drive. And the monks looked at each other and they talked, and they said, well, when you feel like you're having an orgasm all the time, you really don't have a sex drive, because you feel like you're having an orgasm every minute of the day. That didn't make sense to anybody at the time. Well, now it does, because their brain waves are producing gamma based on their spiritual practices and mental practices. That it produces in the body the feeling of orgasm. Interesting. So let's look at these two groups of people again. So let's take the average person, and let's take it a person who makes or has $100 million cash in the bank or more. So they're the super wealthy. And then the average person. And let's put helmets on them for a week. Let's take 100 people, put helmets on them, and let's look at the data. The data is real clear. I mean, there's a lot of data, but I'll just give you the one that's important. The average person is mostly producing, when they're awake, beta waves, poverty, slave waves, stress waves. And then at night, they don't produce very much delta. Let's look at the wealthy people. Throughout the day, they're producing mostly theta and gamma rays. Almost no beta during the day. They also have alpha, but if you combine them, the majority is alpha waves being broadcast during the day and gamma waves. And then at nighttime, they have 2 or 3 or 4 times the amount of delta waves being produced than the average person. So let's make it real simple. If you want to manifest goals in your dreams and desires, and none of the techniques that you're using is working, you have to reduce the amount of beta waves that you're generating. If you reduce beta, if you just reduce it, that means the others have to go up, right? So just focus on what can I do to reduce the amount of beta waves that I'm broadcasting when I'm awake. That'll automatically increase theta, alpha, and gamma, and you're going to do infinitely better. Let's just start there, something simple. I mean, yeah, if you want to take the advanced, you want to dramatically increase theta and gamma, but let's not just reduce beta. And I'm going to tell you what you can do to reduce beta, and that means everything else will go up. And if you're applying the techniques correctly, you're going to get results. And if you're applying the law of attraction manifesting techniques incorrectly, you're still going to get results. Why? Because if you're reducing the beta waves, you do want stuff. And even if you do it wrong, you're going to be broadcasting it on either an alpha frequency, a gamma frequency, or a theta frequency, which means it's going to manifest infinitely faster than, and it will manifest Unlike a beta wave, when you're putting out your desire on a beta wave, it ain't gonna manifest. Or if it does, it's gonna be so hard. You're gonna have to put so much effort in. Bottom line, how does this work? You need to increase the size of the hippocampus so that you have more broadcasting power, number one. Number two, reduce beta. And number three, decalcify your pineal gland. And let's talk about that for a second. Oh boy. By the way, truths are in the movies. The movie guys are, if you've ever been to Hollywood, and some of my Hollywood friends now ain't gonna be friends anymore. In Hollywood, we all know that people have some pretty big egos. You know, they're, right? God, they like, look, we know about all the stories with the casting couch where the producer or the director, you know, is just sleeping with every young starlet and promising her the moon, that there's drugs, that there's orgies, that there's, you know, whacked out sex things, that there's pedophilia, that there's all types of deviant sexual desires and thus, and there's massive amount of egos and all the plastic surgery because everyone's afraid of getting old and all this stuff. So the bottom line is the movie makers and all the producers are easily influenced by the powers that be, and it has been used since the beginning of the movie industry. They have been used as a propaganda tool to get information out and to slowly desensitize people to certain truths or secrets. One of which was put out back in the 60s. Now I'm talking about why your pineal gland is calcified and not operating. That means you're not connecting to source and your ability to manifest is dramatically down. Why is it calcified? Well, let's talk about the pineal gland. There's another part of the pineal gland, by the way, it's the teeth. The teeth are actually got a chemical composition similar to crystal. Crystal, as you know, holds information and vibrates. I mean, this is not foo-foo, made-up, wacko stuff. This is science. You put a quartz in a watch. Oh, it's run by a quartz crystal. Wait a minute. You mean a quartz crystal is like electric? Well, it's got some magical properties science really doesn't even know, but they know that it can power a watch with a quartz crystal. They also know it can hold data and information like a computer. And they know it vibrates. There's all these properties in quartz. It's like, I don't get it. Science doesn't even understand the power of crystals. Your teeth have that same broadcasting power, which is why many people sometimes with a certain tone, their teeth vibrates. It's like, why are my teeth vibrating here? Because a certain pitch connected with the teeth. Some of you know what I'm talking about. There's a chemical that is put on teeth to make them harder and reduce cavities. What is that chemical, everyone? Class? Yes, Johnny? Fluoride. Fluoride. Very good, Johnny. Congratulations. Mary, you got it too. Good, Mary. Are kids called Mary and Johnny anymore? I don't think so. Those names aren't even in school, right?
Johnny a little bit.
Johnny a little bit, okay. No Marys. No Janes. It's a different world, boy. It's okay. Fluoride. Fluoride is a toxic poison. And they put it on your teeth. And they put it in your drinking water under the guise that it's going to reduce cavities. Fluoride is a byproduct of superphosphate fertilizers. When they make these chemical fertilizers, it's a byproduct. It is so toxic, it is in the same category as nuclear waste. Which means if you have a drum, you can't just bury it in the ground. It has to be destroyed or or stored in the same manner as if it was nuclear waste because it's so poison. And who invented it, by the way? The Nazis. And the Nazis knew that fluoride made people docile because it calcified the teeth, stopping them from being transmitters into the universe, and it calcified the pineal gland. This is the #1 calcification ingredient, fluoride. And the Nazis put it in the drinking water of their enemies. They put it in the drinking water in Poland before they invaded to make them as docile as possible. They put it in the drinking water in the ghettos where the Jews and the gypsies were, so they didn't resist. It made them docile. Think about it. You have thousands, tens of thousands of people. There's no fence. They're in a ghetto. And there's a couple dozen German guards. The people could take over in a minute. The inmates could take over the asylum, right? This is no problem. But they're all walking around like, we can't go after the Germans. No, we must stay and do what they say. It made them zombies, walking zombies. The Nazis put the fluoride in the water. We've been talking about this. I talked about it in my book, Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About, for decades, and other people have as well. Fluoride also calcifies the thyroid, which means you start producing thyroid in the body. It reduces your drive, motivation, and energy, makes you fat, makes you docile. So not only does it calcify the pineal gland, it calcifies the thyroid. Years ago, there was a president in the White House named Bush. And Bush and his wife and his dog all had thyroid problems. It was in the news for 2 or 3 days as the lead story. The President of the United States has been diagnosed with a thyroid condition. The other members of the first family have also been tested, and they too inexplicably have a thyroid condition. Even the family dog, to the shock of Washington. Medical researchers are now investigating the water supply at the White House. We'll report more on this story tomorrow when we get the results of that water test. You never heard another word ever again about that, because the water in the White House was highly fluorinated. The powers that be are not the president. They're getting the suckers in the White House to drink highly, massively fluorinated water, more than anything else, to make them docile, calcify the pineal gland, calcify the thyroid, and that way they're easily susceptible to the influence of other people who have their pineal gland active. And by the way, I'm not the first person who said this. This was in the movies. In the 1960s, there was a great movie called Dr. Strangelove by Stanley Kubrick. In it, one of the best actors, I believe, in American history, Peter Sellers, played 3 different characters in this movie. Peter Sellers played 3 different characters. There was George C. Scott in this movie, and it was an interesting movie. It's not one of the best movies of all time, but it was black and white. But there was a scene in this movie that I think you're going to find interesting. Take a look at this.
Yes, Dad?
Have you ever seen a commie drink a glass of water?
Well, yeah, I can't say I have, Jack.
Vodka. That's what they drink, isn't it? Never water?
Well, I believe that's what they drink, Jack, yes.
On no account will a commie ever drink water, and not without good reason.
Oh, yes. I can't quite see what you're getting at, Jack.
Water. That's what I'm getting at, water. Mandrake, water is the source of all life. 7/10 of this Earth's surface is water. Why, do you realize that 70% of you is water?
Oh, Lord.
And as human beings, you and I need fresh, pure water to replenish our precious bodily fluids.
Yes.
Are you beginning to understand?
Yes.
Mandrake. Mandrake, have you never wondered why I drink only distilled water or rainwater and only pure grain alcohol?
Well, it did occur to me, Jack, yes.
Have you ever heard of a thing called fluoridation? Fluoridation of water?
Yes, I have heard of that, Jack, yes. Yes.
Well, do you know what it is?
No, I don't know what it is now.
Do you realize that fluoridation is the most monstrously conceived and dangerous communist plot we have ever had to face?
You gotta love it. It's the fluoride, man. It's the fluoride. So all of you know, Grand Rapids, Michigan was the first city in America where they put fluoride in the water. And so I said, well, what was the reason they put the fluoride in the water? Come on, man. There was a couple of reasons. Number one, if you were making superphosphate chemical poison fertilizer and you had this fluoride that you had to dispose of in the same manner as nuclear waste, that's going to cost you a fortune. But if you get the government to buy it from you and actually pay you for the poison, now you got a home run business. They buy it and they throw it in the water supply. Now you don't have to worry about disposing it. Perfect for those companies. Why is the government putting it in? It's making you docile. That's why. Under the guise, oh, it's good for your teeth. No, it's not. It's unhardening the teeth. It's calcifying the teeth, the thyroid, and the pineal gland, making you incapable of manifesting goals, dreams, and desires and connecting with the universe. And it makes you docile, makes you fat. That's the gig. And people say, Kevin, this is, man, it's like a conspiracy theory. You know, I don't know if I can believe this. You know, Kevin, I think you're being a little naive thinking that these people would do something like that. You know, there was a great scene in a movie called The Godfather. And The Godfather movie, one of the best movies of all time, had this scene between Michael Corleone, who was going to be the new Godfather, the head of the Corleone crime family, and Kay, which was his fiancée, but he hadn't seen them in a long time, and they got together after several years, and they were having this conversation. Now, take a look at this clip.
I'm working for my father now, Kay. He's been sick. Very sick.
But you're not like him, Michael. I thought you weren't going to become a man like your father. That's what you told me.
My father's no different than any other powerful man. Any man who's responsible for other people. Like a senator or a president.
Do you know how naive you sound?
Why?
Senators and presidents don't have men killed.
Oh. Who's being naive, Kay?
Yeah. Michael, you're being naive. Presidents and senators don't have people killed. Who's being naive, Kay? Presidents and senators do have people killed. Look at the Clinton body count, all the people that were associated with him. All around the world, presidents, senators, and corporate executives have people killed. This is how it works. And isn't it amazing that when there's a whistleblower that comes out, they always commit suicide. Yeah, you know what? Always surprised me that suicide victims dismember themselves and stuff themselves in hefty trash bags and shove themselves in the trunk of a car. Oh, it's a suicide victim. Suicide victim? The guy's in the trunk of the car in a hefty trash bag. How is that a suicide? Well, authorities say it's a suicide. And then the guy gets put in jail, right? He put in jail. Oh, he killed himself. We're going to look at the video cameras, but as luck would have it, the videotape machine was on the fritz for those 3 hours. Wait a minute. The guy's in a federal prison. He kills himself. You have a camera on him 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The camera has been there for 10 years. It works 100% of the time. That's correct. But as luck would have it, it stopped working. It malfunctioned for 2 hours. And it was, man, talk about coincidence. During the time that it malfunctioned, the videotape, that's when he killed himself, so you don't know what happened. Really? Look, the powers that be want you dumb. They want you docile. They want you taking drugs every day for the rest of your life. They don't want you connecting to the universe. They don't want you to manifest goals, dreams, and desires. They want you to be a dumb, stupid slave. And many of you are complying very well. Congratulations. You are the successful, dumb, stupid slave. I applaud you. You are doing a great job in that role, by the way. Get out of that role. Come on. Wake up. Have some fun. Enjoy yourself. Take advantage of the information that's being presented, and you can change your whole life. I'm giving you truth that they don't want you to know about. And at the end of the day, this is information that will positively impact you in every respect. So let's talk specifically about a couple things. So we'll start from the back. Kevin, yes, question. How do I decalcify my pineal gland so I can connect with the universe and improve my ability to manifest goals, dreams, and desires? Great question. So number one, stop drinking the water. And it's not just drinking water, it's the water you shower and bathe in. So I'm going to suggest you get a shower filter that gets fluoride out. That's the most important thing you need to get out, fluoride. You have to get the fluoride out of the water you bathe in. Your skin is the largest organ in the body and absorbs everything that goes on it. So every time you take a bath or a shower, you're absorbing the toxins. If you have a swimming pool, if you have a hot tub, and you're going in there, you're absorbing the fluoride. And it's basically just having, and I'm just giving you the tip of the iceberg of negative effects of fluoride by drinking it. So that's number one. Number two, you should have a whole house water filtration system, because you don't want to even be washing clothes in the fluoride, because then the fluoride stays in the fabric and then it's on your skin and it's absorbing. Not as much, but it's still there. And then of course the ice in your refrigerator, that's loaded with fluoride too. So every time you make a drink with ice, the fluoride's in there. And then anytime you buy something like Coca-Cola or a soda that has water in it, if you go to Starbucks and it has coffee, it has water in it. All of it has fluoride in it. So every liquid that you're drinking has fluoride in it. All right, what am I gonna do? Well, I'll tell you what I do, but most people can't live like me. I, being the world's best mentor, I am drinking water. This particular water is Icelandic water. I also drink Volvic water and a couple other spring waters that come out of the ground. It has no fluoride in it. So I drink water 99% of the time. Sometimes I put some tea in the water and drink tea, and sometimes I use my water, my water with no fluoride and make coffee. That's what I drink. That's what I drink. What about alcohol? Thank you for asking. In the distillation process, the fluoride doesn't go. So if you're drinking beer, I don't drink American beer because it has rice in it and high fructose corn syrup. I only drink imported German beer primarily, Belgian beer. But if you drink beer, fluoride levels are 0 or incredibly low. If you drink alcohol, incredibly low as well. However, I don't drink alcohol that was made in the United States of America because they are using water that's heavily fluorinated. If I'm drinking scotch or vodka, I always drink potato vodka. They don't have fluorinated water sources where they come from. But because of the distillation process of making the alcohol, you're not going to have that problem. But Kevin, what do you do when you go to a restaurant? I ask for bottled water. What if you go to a bar and you have a drink? I mean, they're using ice or something. Okay, yes. And so the answer is, don't you go to a Starbucks once in a while? Yeah. Well, the water has fluoride in it. Yeah. So here's the answer. You can't be perfect and you can't be fanatical about it. You have to release any fear. Do the best you can in terms of stop putting so much fluoride in your system. When I go to the dentist, I say no fluoride. My toothpaste, no fluoride. Okay, so reduce, do the best you can. Secondly, there are some things you can take that will leach the fluoride out of your system and help the decalcification process. And I'll give you 2 specific ones, and there's more. I'm actually doing a seminar with the Global Information Network next week for Global Information Network members only, actually coming up Saturday, or 2 weeks on Saturday. It's only for Global Information Network members. It's going to be a 2-hour seminar where I'm going to give every detail about how to decalcify the pineal gland. But I'll just give you 2 right here. Pine bark extract. That's one of them that'll help decalcify and leach some of the fluoride out of your system. And there is a plant called Chlorella. Chlorella will help pull. Also spirulina will help pull. There's some others as well that are very powerful. And you can take this, and there's some products that you can, with a tincture, and take a few drops, and that will start leaching the fluoride out. And usually within a week or 2, you will notice a dramatic difference in the way you feel, in the way you connect with the universe, in the way that you're interacting with other people, and also your ability to broadcast. You'll just feel clearer, mentally clearer. There are other things as well. Now, the question is, how do I increase the size of the hippocampus? And how do I broadcast on theta so I can manifest things instead of beta? So I'll give you the answer. There's, throughout history, a whole host of things that the super rich did instinctively, which increased the size of the hippocampus, reduced the amount of time they were in beta, and thus increased their ability to manifest goals, dreams, and desires, because they were broadcasting on theta or gamma or alpha. In that order of importance, that's the strength, when you broadcast a desire. And they got more delta at night, so they lived longer and had more rejuvenation. Remember, this is before electronics, before you had headphones, and you could go on YouTube and find frequencies and things, and some of those are good, some of them are garbage and just a joke. Some of them have some effect or mild effect, but they're not the most powerful. If you look throughout history, what is the most powerful? I'll give you a couple. I'll give you 3 right here. I'm giving all the details at the seminar that I'm doing for the Global Information Network members. So if you're not a member, you should join and get to that seminar. It's free for level 1 members and above. It's going to be an amazing, in-depth seminar, which will make all the difference, in my opinion. So there's 3 things you can do that increase the size of the hippocampus and get you broadcasting more on theta, gamma, or alpha. dramatically reducing beta, which means you're going to manifest goals and dreams and desires quicker and faster. Number one, throughout history, wealthy people always went for a walk in nature, or they went horseback riding in nature. In nature, we have nature sounds. The sound of a brook, a creek, or a river, or running water. We have the sounds of crickets. We have the sounds of frogs. We have the sounds of monkeys, depending on where you are in the world. There are sounds, nature sounds. The most powerful nature sounds are the ones that are repeated, such as the sounds of crickets or cicadas or frogs or birds. These sounds stimulate, because they're being broadcast on a particular frequency with a particular beat, they stimulate the size of the hippocampus. They also stimulate the pineal gland. Next, when you're in nature, especially if you're in a forest, as wind goes through the forest and the trees, negative ions are produced, and these negative ions stimulate the hippocampus, increasing the size and also the pineal gland. If you're by running water, that does it as well. If you're by salt water, like a beach, that does it as well. So that's what people have always done. Always, 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 because they understand the importance, and many people have done this, very wealthy people, subconsciously, just intuitively. They knew that, they didn't know the science behind it, but that's the science. So that's the first thing. The second thing is reading. Throughout history, the wealthy and the people in control always wanted to make sure that the peasants stayed illiterate. We don't want them to be able to read. For two reasons. If they read, they'll gain knowledge. But secondly, the act of reading stimulates the hippocampus, primarily, a little bit of the pineal gland, but mostly the hippocampus, increasing your ability to broadcast on theta and then manifest goals, dreams, and desires. It's irrelevant what you're reading. You can read a novel. It's not like a how-to book. Yeah, you can read the books on my recommended reading list, and that will give you a double bang for the buck. You're actually reading data and information that's helpful, and you're reading. The act of reading stimulates that part of the brain. But reading stories, autobiographies, is also very powerful, and actually more so in some respect, because it's getting you to create images in your mind. So when you read a novel, or if you read a biography or autobiography, you're reading a story and therefore creating images in your mind. You're using your imagination, you're using your ability to create pictures. This stimulates the hippocampus, increasing the size. This is what wealthy people have done throughout history. They have read. Leaders are always readers. Losers are not readers. Fact. Okay. That's number two. Number three, of all the things, and there's probably close to maybe 50 different things you can do that will stimulate, without spending any money, by the way, that will stimulate the hippocampus to increase in size as well as the pineal gland and activate them. There's about 50 things. The most powerful, the number one most powerful that you can do is associate with winners. If you are in the same physical room and you are associating with and have a relationship with someone who does have a large hippocampus and an active pineal gland, when you're in that proximity, they're broadcasting so strongly, it hits yours and will increase your size faster. This is why throughout history, going to a spiritual guru created such magical results. Because when you got into the physical presence of a guru, that person's pineal gland is fully active, connected to universe, connected to source, and when you come in their presence, it stimulates yours stronger than anything else you can do. And the hippocampus is so strong, they're broadcasting on theta, that those theta waves are smashing into yours, matching yours, and it's increasing the size of your hippocampus. Let me give you the example of this. If you take a broadcast, and then there's another broadcast antenna, and you put them next to each other, they stimulate each other because they're on the same frequency. And you don't have twice the power. You have 3, 4, 5 times the power. There's a place called HARP where they have all of these broadcast antennas. Maybe we'll show a clip of this. And because they're all next to each other, when they broadcast, it dramatically increases geometrically the power of each one. It's not 1 + 1 = 2, it's 1 + 1 = 5. And 1 + 1 + 1 doesn't equal 3. 1 + 1 + 1 = 25. So when you're in a room with like-minded people, when you're around people that have an active pineal gland and an active hippocampus, rich people, successful people, happy people, spiritually enlightened people, motivated people, positive people, like-minded people, people that are reading the books, people that are going after goals, dreams, and desires, people that are engaged. When you're around winners, it stimulates yours more so than anyone else. This is one of the greatest kept money-making secrets of all time. Associating with winners and you will become one. Aristotle Onassis, one of the richest men in the world, said if he was flat broke and had no money, he would save everything he had and once a month go to a nice restaurant or go someplace where there were rich, wealthy, successful people, and he would just try to get as physically close to them as possible. Not just to hear what they had to say and maybe learn something, but being in their presence would affect him. He knew that. Every successful person knows that. Being in the presence of winners creates winners. Success breeds success. That's why the Club, the Global Information Network, is so strong and powerful. Because when you join that membership, and even if you're on a local chapter meeting via Zoom, because you can't physically get around people, because of technology, we're connecting and creating increases in hippocampus size and activity in pineal gland, helping you manifest goals, dreams, and desires. This is why when somebody does a one-on-one with me, the results are just so spectacular. And there's one other reason that you're being held back from the money. And that is there are 33 energetic blocks in the field. So if you are applying the law of attraction perfectly, and if you have increased the size of your hippocampus and broadcasting on theta, your goal, dream, and desire, and if your pineal gland is fully decalcified and completely active, you are going to manifest. But for most people, it feels still like a struggle. It feels like there's a 200-pound pack on your back. It feels like you're swimming upstream. And it feels like you want to get going, but I'll do it tomorrow. So it feels like there's some invisible force holding you back from taking action, or once you start, makes you stop and you never finish. Or if you're really doing it, you're not happy doing it. You feel like you're in the mud, that you're slogging through the mud. And if you start making some money, it's just so much effort and so hard. It's working, but you start to think, is it worth it? Is victory really worth this struggle? This is because you have these energetic blocks virtually working counter intention. You're doing everything correct. You're broadcasting on theta. Your hippocampus is nice and big and active, so you're broadcasting on theta. You're connecting and broadcasting with the pineal gland, so not only into the physical universe, but on all the dimensions. You have great intuition. You're in good shape there. You're using the techniques properly. That's in Your Wish is Your Command, the Law of Attraction books that I recommend, the Success Master Course. So you're doing everything correct, but you still find the struggle. These are the 33 blocks called the money processes. And this is the magic. If someone said, what should I do first? If you get the money processes first, it blows out all the blocks, then you will be motivated and free to increase the size of the hippocampus, decalcify, do the things needed to decalcify the pineal gland, and actually do the things necessary to learn the actual technique and method of applying and using the law of attraction and the method of manifesting. You'll be motivated, inspired, and you won't have any counterintention. It'll be easier. And then that's when the windows of heaven open and just the floodgates come pouring in. And I see it all the time. I get all these letters from people say, I've gone through 10 money processes, or I've gone through one money process, and in 24 hours I got a check for $406,000. I mean, the stuff that I've heard is just cool, but I know because I can see the field. So I know what's going to happen. So if you're interested in the money processes, you can come to Chicago. We deliver them here, and I'll take you to dinner. That's not going to last forever, by the way. That's a limited time. But if you want, you can come to Chicago. You can get either one process, 10 or 30, and I'll take you to dinner. If you can't come to Chicago, we will come to you. I'll send one of my representatives. They'll physically come to a city pretty much close to you, relatively close. That way you can go. They'll work out with you the date and the location. You can get it delivered there, and then watch the magic happen. If you want more information on the money processes, or you want to talk to me, if you have any questions for me on them, either myself or Megan will be happy to answer all your questions. Just send an email to moneyprocesses@kevintrudeau.com, and we'll get you the information. Remember, this Saturday or 2 Saturdays from now, see this one, the next one, I'm doing the seminar going into all the details here, but I just want to end this segment with the summary, and that is this. Number one, you have to apply the method of manifesting, the recipe properly. You have to know the recipe, know the formula, and apply it properly. That's what we teach in the Success Mastery course, Your Wish is Your Command, and the Science of Personal Mastery course, better than anything else out there. And it comes from direct experience. It's stuff that I know, not just know about. After $25 billion, I think I know how to manifest. Okay. And watching hundreds of people become multimillionaires using the techniques, it's a different level of knowledge and understanding and expertise and distinction and fine-tuning. The recipe is perfect. The formula is perfect. There's nothing like it. It's a workable plan. So you have to know that. Number two, when you broadcast your desire, it has to be on a theta wave, ideally. Alpha works okay, gamma works okay, theta is the best for manifesting stuff in this world. You can only broadcast on the theta if your beta waves during the day aren't very active, so you have to learn how to do that. Next, your hippocampus has to be bigger, so you're broadcasting a strong frequency. And so you have to do the things to increase the size of the hippocampus. And by the way, this is why we say, it all depends on if he was born into the right family. At the end of the day, if you're born into a wealthy family, you're born with a big hippocampus. I mean, that's just the way it works. It's genetic. You can get it bigger, but it's just genetic. Next, your pineal gland and your teeth have to be decalcified so you can broadcast not just into the physical universe, but into all the dimensions so you can get that intuition, that inspiration, connect with the Akash, sometimes called the ether. You've heard of the Akashic records. That's a fancy word from India. Akash is another word for the ether, which is another word for the field. It's where all knowledge is. It's where all the dimensions are. It's where we tap into when we channel. When you hear somebody, oh, he's channeling something, he's tapping into the Akash, or tapping into the force, or tapping into the field, or tapping into the ether, different words. Tapping into source, tapping into the infinite intelligence. It's tapping into the field of all knowledge, which we're all a part of. You can't tap into it if your pineal gland is calcified, so you have to release that. And then lastly, and I think most importantly, you have to release clear out of your field, counter intention to you manifesting. The blocks, there are 33 of them. You only need the first one because the first one has an effect on all the other ones. I had one done, one money process run on me, just one. And I made millions of dollars within weeks. This is back in the 70s. I didn't know there was more. I thought that was it. And money was just flowing faster and easier than I had ever imagined. Everything I tried, I had the Midas touch, turned to gold. I've seen it happen with other people, my friends back in the day. I ran that. I remember one guy who was in the apartment, and I said, I'm just gonna run this on him. He's not even gonna know what happened. And I wanna see what happens to him. Within a couple months, all of a sudden the guy's a millionaire. And through this serendipitous boom, 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 boom just happens. These are powerful techniques. This is the reality. This is the reality. But you can do it. This is just the tip of the iceberg, my friends. Remember the fluoride? And someone says, Kevin, Is this real? Yeah, this is not just real, man. This is the truth. The question is, can you handle the truth?
You can't handle the truth.
I hope you can. I'm Kevin Trudeau. Thanks for watching. Every Monday and Wednesday, it's the Kevin Trudeau Show. Everything they don't want you to know about. Go for your dreams, my friend. Dream big dreams. Shoot for the moon. Because even if you miss, you'll still wind up amongst the stars. And remember, don't let anyone ever steal your dreams. You can do it. Much love. See you on Wednesday.